show, man. Big fan of yours.
Thanks, dude.
Oh, of course. I know you're a big Mariners fan. That's kind of how we met. We met in LA. I don't know if you remember where we met.
Oh, dude, I never forget meeting a Rowland-Smith, dude. I've met 3 in my life, and they've always been super generous and just fucking yoked. You know, you definitely yeah, dude. I mean, something about the Rowland-Smith genes. I don't know what's in the water or how you guys are raised, but you're all just like. And I don't want to, burst through my shirt here because I've done 6 push-ups this whole quarantine. But yeah, man, you came in with a lot of girthy dudeness right out of the gate, but not intimidating. Like you came in as like, I got your back, not like, hey, look at my girl wrong, and I'll twist your balls up in between your taint. Go ahead.
Well, just to let you know, now I'm sitting here like this. I've actually got, where is it?
Yeah,
I got an iced coffee, and it's in a protein shake container. So now I'm going to look like the biggest meathead talking about workouts and the whole thing. But anyway.
Oh, do it, dude. Please share the goodies, man. I need to get my shit in order.
Let's do it.
In LA, right?
That's right. Yeah, a couple of years ago, and through Rick Riz, you became buddies with him, and he's like, "Hey, do you know who that is?" Yeah. I said, "I don't know who the hell that is." And then I was like, "Oh, apparently he's famous. So I'm just going to kiss his ass." Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's varying degrees of fame, but for Riz, the fact that I motorboated Sandra Bullock in a movie to I am a god to him. You know what I'm saying? Like I met Riz at a place called Vino Bella. It's a wine bar in Issaquah, and
he's the mayor of Issaquah.
Oh, dude.
Oh.
Riz could walk into any Baskin Robbins and get 2 scoops of whatever, dude. He could give them 2 scoops of attitude, and they'd be like, "Dude, I'll take it, man. You're kind of an asshole, Riz, but I'll take it because you're the king of the city." But he was at the wine bar, and I got off stage. It was basically I was doing like a pre-show to my weekend of shows in Tacoma, and he was sitting there in the back, and I was wearing my M's hat, which I do a lot, and I was like, "No way, dude, Rick Riz." And so now I'm like, "Was he here during the show? If so, then he just saw me do my thing, and I can go up and I have grounds to, because it's always cool when someone sees you in your element. There's a little bit more respect right out of the gate like that."
Absolutely.
So, and the show was fun. So I'm like, if he saw me and he was laughing, I can walk over and introduce myself. Otherwise, I'm just a random guy being like, "Dude, 1995. What was it? What is that Soho smell like?" So he gives me a thumbs up. I walk over. We start talking, and then we played pool till like 3 a.m. next door, but so he was so cool to let me come into the booth, and has been every time I'm in town, and you're up there, and obviously, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so you guys are that tight. I mean, we're talking playing pool till 3 o'clock in the morning. This is not something like, "Oh, hey, look, I'm famous. You're the voice of the Mariners. Hey, we should talk to each other." You guys are tight that way.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I've done that to I've done that to other shit. I DM'd The Rock on Instagram after he commented on a picture that I posted, and I immediately sent him I've wasted no time being like, "Hey Rock, best friends?" ? And he saw the message, did not respond, but it was basically Gwyneth Paltrow had posted a picture of how she made these candles that smell like her vagina, and so I was like, well, what could be the dude equivalent of that would be funny to make a joke of, and I posted the picture and I tagged The Rock. I never tagged people like that in pictures, but I was like, "Hey Rock, it's your move. Hit up Yankee Candle Company, try to get some ball scented wax up and going." And also then I started getting flooded in my DMs, people being like, "How do you know The Rock?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Everybody knows The Rock." And then I look at the picture and he commented and then followed me, and he only follows like 340 people, and he's got like 160 million followers. So I immediately am like, dude, so I shot him a message, over ambitious. But Riz, yeah, dude, we kicked it. He's so cool, man. He loved to talk comedy and sports. And I think he dug how much Mariner, intellect I have. And that I wasn't, I'm obviously a huge fan and I've spent so much, cash and emotional wear and tear on the highs and lows of being a fan since, my buddies and I in 1994, 5 would take the, first time I came to spring training actually down here in Arizona was before the 95 season. My dad lived here because my folks split when I was 9, and then he came down here. Thanks for bringing it up. And I was down here in Arizona, and
that was. I've got it's right here. Yeah, your parents split. Now tell me about.
Oh,
it was
my
coming.
God.
I'm kidding.
Oh, That's so funny, dude. It'd be great if there was just actually not a question, but just stick figures of parents like holding hands, but then
Yeah,
there's an X between it
yeah.
or over
Do
it.
not
Yeah.
forget. Yeah,
Do
yeah,
not
exactly.
forget, yeah, broken childhood. So, but in '95, maybe '96, my buddies and I obviously would watch every game. We would take the bus from the Albertsons in Lake Forest Park, which I later worked at in high school. Um, Shout out to Dan Boyle, who was the first senior citizen that ever I heard call boobs fun bags. You know what I'm saying? This guy was just old school, old man, managed a grocery store, early 90s. You could still kind of talk like that. And he was like, man, look at the fun bags on her. And I was like, I didn't know what that was. So I was like, what? He's like, the boobs. I was like, well, just say that, dude. You're making it weird.
He's an instant mentor of yours. You're at
Yeah.
that age.
Yeah. It's my first hero. Before Griffey, it was Dan Boyle. So we take the bus from LFP all the way down, straight shot to the Kingdom, and we'd drop you off. We at Albertsons would get a big poster board, and we would make a sign to get on Diamond Vision. That was our goal every game. And dude, tickets were not selling in '94, '95 when we would do this again. And so we would sit up, we'd buy these $6 seats in the bleachers and then move down to sit third baseline. And the Kingdom, I got to say, was one of the few stadiums in Seattle that would allow you to seat shift and not get in trouble for it.
Right.
And so we'd have a sign. But I remember when we had Rob Ducey, we wrote a sign that said "Getting Ducey with it," because they would play "Getting Jiggy with it" when he came up. So we had "Getting Ducey with it," and we would hold it up. And dude, we're just three just shitty little like quick fat eighth graders holding up a sign that we made with two different colored Sharpies. But dude, that was we've been diehard for a long time. We did that. We'd come back 11 p.m. that same night, and somebody's parents would pick us up and rinse and repeat the next day. But yeah, dude, the M's are for better or for worse, my squad. And so meeting you up in the booth was an extra treat, dude, because obviously I listened to all the broadcasts and so once you became a part of the circle of trust, dude, I was like, oh fuck yeah, and and Riz was like, Ryan, I was like, fuck, dude, yeah, like protein shake coffee guy, I know.
That's right. I carry this everywhere. You know what's funny
Yeah.
though? You're talking about '95. I'm trying to do the math in my head. You would have been 10 or 11 years old, roughly.
95 of 12. So
12. All right.
I'm
All right. So,
37 now. Yeah.
okay. So that's that perfect age to
Oh yeah.
when that year hit, you're 12 years old. All of a sudden, you got these big dreams, and whether or not you think you're going to play in the big leagues, if you played baseball or not. But that was that age where, man, I love this team. I love sports. Boom, I'm hooked. Done. But you were talking.
Oh, yeah.
So you were a fan pre '95. You didn't jump on '95, and the whole city did.
Oh no, I mean it was, dude. I'd say, as I remember when Griffey got drafted, like that was, I'd say a year before. I mean, dude, like I think I had a Greg Briley jersey, like I mean Henry Cotto cock rings, like that's a joke.
He was a coach of mine in the minor leagues.
Was he really?
Oh yeah. Oh. No, dude, the next hour Cotto stories. The rest of the hour, how about that? Henry Cotto stories, boom.
By the way, I could do 20 minutes on Cotto on stage. That guy had the stash. He looked like a guy that grew coffee, but also just, like literally, like third base was full on penetration for this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he just had a lot of charisma to him. And dude, but I mean, Dave Fleming, which I think was like 92, 93. He was like a big prospect for us, left-handed pitcher. Brian Holman. I mean, yeah, dude, I loved it. I mean, it was, if you played sports in Seattle in the 90s and you had a good amount of like players and if you're a kid and you play sports and your city has all the teams, then you can't help but fan out and know all the guys. Kevin Mitchell. I mean, like, it was great, and it was just fun. We had a fun squad. And then when Griffey showed up, dude, I mean, I feel so lucky. Like, the fact that we have not won a World Series, yeah, dude, it sucks. But also, I immediately go back to, dude, there could have been no baseball the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And then the Sonics, oh man, dude, we would not be having this combo right now for multiple reasons. I probably would have found you on some protein website, but I think, I think, like chickensandpushups.com or something. But I think that like that season, if it didn't happen, then we didn't get all these years and all the. I mean, dude, even that 2001 season or the 96 season or like it's so fun to even just watch and go to the games, dude, and the highs and lows. And baseball is one of those sports, and you know this better than anybody. It's like, I mean, to build up and get a squad with prospects and get go dip your foot in the free agent pool and hold on to guys and hope that some guys maybe take a little less or that you locked them into a contract that's not going to screw up. And now this rookie played out of his mind, and his rookie deal is now up. I mean, there's so many factors. And then you're like, dude, how do we steal signs? And everyone's like, dude, I don't know. Stop talking to me, Craig Biggio. But
dude, the Astros are going to be loving this shutdown. I mean, I was like, are you kidding? I thought about that the other day. I was washing dishes. I'm sitting there going, hold on a sec. The Astros are sitting back going, this is great. Because
they're
loving it. I mean, just getting off the hook. Now, you talked about 95 season, right? Now, they've been up here in Seattle. You know, Root Sports has been smashing out 95. You know, all the MLB work. You know, the basically the team that kept baseball in Seattle and everything else. All these old games. And
real quick, do you know that like they had Tampa Bay Mariners stuff already printed?
I had heard. I didn't know if that was definitely true or how ugly
maybe
that would
have
looked.
True. I don't know. I heard it from a handful of people. Maybe our mutual boy Bobby Stelton might have even dropped that nugget of info. But yeah, I mean, it's like that year. Like if it doesn't happen, they're gone, obviously. And the Root Sports doing a big solid by replaying all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is it cool for you to watch?
Well, it is, and this is just back to my point. You mentioned the circle of trust, right? Now, if you're on that, if you're any part of that team in 95, player, staff, you have the golden ticket. Now, you mentioned coming up to the broadcast booth, and you know, Rick said, oh, this is Ryan. The thing is, I was there, like, my tenure with the Mariners was there in kind of a shitty time. So every time they show, you know, 95 games, and, yeah, because I work with Mike Blowers, Dan Wilson, these guys, man, I mean,
hometown heroes.
Yeah, they could literally sit, you know, during a broadcast. Not that they do, and they're pros, but they could literally sit there during a broadcast and just be like, "Fly ball, caught." Everyone's like, "Oh, they, you know, played on that 95 team. Love them."
Dude,
whatever they said.
Yeah,
Flowers,
dude, what a call. Yeah.
Every time I meet someone, whether it's you or you know someone who was connected to that team in the mid 90s, which is most of the fan base, really, whether you're 3 years old, you're 60 years old, they're always like, "Oh, Ryan, like what years were you here?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, these years." I'm like, oh man. So sometimes, I feel like I need to sort of push into that circle of trust just a little bit because those were the 95, obviously 2001, brand new stadium, year and a half into that, 116 games, boom, that just lit that fire. But yeah, it's interesting. Another thing we kicked it off about too when I first met you with, I don't know if you remember this or not, but you live in LA. So I lived in LA for a long time. I was living in West Hollywood. So it's funny because we're sitting here, I'm back in Seattle now, but lived in LA. My wife lived there for years, and I basically just moved all my shit into her place and spent the off season there. And I'm thinking to myself, man, when I tell people, oh yeah, I used to live in West Hollywood, they think I live in some house in the hills. I played.
Dude.
No. We're in like
play ping pong with Leo DiCaprio, and you get Pinkberry with Harrison Ford and Beyonce. Like, well, I've seen a Beyonce impersonator. She works there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking, during this shutdown, obviously everyone's stuck inside. I know LA's had it pretty bad. So same with Washington. So they're going, man, if we had to do, I've got 2 kids at home. The place we're living in LA. I remember talking to you about this. You probably don't remember. We're talking about the area we're living in and everything else. It's funny, dude, because Barry Zito and I used to work out at USC. So we used to carpool.
That's where I went. I think I told you that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, oh yeah, hey, we'll carpool. I'll pick you up. And this is when he was in his like guard up because he had a couple bad years with the Giants on a big contract. The whole thing. He's like, oh, what's your address? I'm like, oh, we lived right near the Comedy Store, actually, and I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
But where the Chateau Marmont is, off Sunset Boulevard, but I was down from there. You either go up and you're like living in the hills, or you go down.
Yeah.
And Barry Zito to me, he goes, "Oh, you're living in the flats." I've never heard. Have you ever heard it called that before? Ever?
I
West Hollywood?
haven't, but that, well, the flats. I mean, like, how far down were you? Were you down
Probably a
like
block
Fountain
back.
or Santa Monica?
It
Oh, okay,
was
yeah.
a block back from Sunset Boulevard. But
Now, that seems like some cool. I don't know, dude. That seems like that almost sounds like a Barry Zito song that he was trying to like pitch to you. That he was like, that's actually called the Flats. I wrote a song about it in my downtime. You're like, we get it, Barry. You do it all.
because he was
But
he wasn't living in the flats, mate. He's just saying his house was ridiculous. But
was
it's
this
just
post
funny.
Giants contract or no?
It was during that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Come on.
He was killing it. Yeah. But
That's the cool part of town, though.
no, it is. Trust me, it's great. But on a shutdown, it's not so great because nothing's open.
No. Yeah.
I mean, the beauty of that place, you can obviously go anywhere, any time of the day, whatever.
Yeah.
Love it. But I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, thank God we've got a backyard and the whole thing. So right now, you're in Arizona right now. Is that right?
Yeah. My girl's folks live down here, and it's, LA. I just bought a condo last year, which has been cool, just to have like a place when people come over where when they go, hey, where's your bathroom? You don't have to go, give me a second, and you just go, hey, go for it, man. I got a couple.
Yeah.
All the soap and candle, Yankee Doodle candles that you want. But now, our street is basically the only outside we get, and got a little pup and just, I don't know, AZ is so nice. It's a few more people to interact with during the quarantine. They got a good amount of space, got a little backyard, and went on a little bike ride today. And it's also, AZ is a little slow to the get up on what's going down. So things haven't been too as chaotic. They are starting to become so now, but also I can do a lot of what I'm doing remotely, voiceover, putting auditions for movies and TV stuff on tape, doing podcasting like this. I did my voiceover job this morning, and then I'll any sort of IG stuff you can do, and which is why I want to get up to Washington next to visit my folks, but it's just, I'm trying to wait it out. A buddy of mine was like, dude, it's flattening down, you'd be safe. But then I talked to my mom, and she's like, stay the fuck away from me. I'm 71, kill me. So I don't want to put her in harm's way. So I don't know what the move is.
Yeah. And it's one thing you were doing too, and I was listening to a couple of your podcasts, obviously the last couple of days. Yeah, planning on you, first of all, talking to your high school. I was listening for a second, your high school football coach.
Oh, wow, you listened to that one, yeah?
I listened to that one.
You didn't go all the way. You just listened to the last two recent, or did you go farther back?
I listened to a couple of more recent ones. But because I said, I'm like, who's he talking to right now? And I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, it took a couple minutes to figure out who you're talking. It was cool, man, because I didn't know you played high school football. I mean, you guys were diving into the video breakdown and the prep, like leading into the high school games. It was fun to listen to. It was cool.
Yeah, I did. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I did high school baseball, basketball, and football, and then quit football to do the school plays, and then basketball was just kind of the main one. But yeah, you got to do a deep dive, man, because it's cool that you listen to the last few. But my high school football coach and basketball coach is a cool one. But shit, man, Bill Burr's been on the podcast, Jim Jeffries, Dana Carvey, Susan Sarandon,
I've seen him.
McCarthy.
I'm gonna dive in there. For sure.
So you got to, there's Howie Mandel, Jason Derulo. Dude, we went to Jason Derulo's house, and one of his two houses that he's got attached to each other. And we pull up this driveway, and we're waiting out there. Nowhere near the flats, dude. This guy had this neighborhood that we thought was all his, because we pull up and he's like, it's this house over here. And we go up to it, but nobody was answering. But there was two giant Jason Derulo posters in the lobby of the doorway. So we're like, all right, either this is his house or he lives next to some psycho that is obsessed with him and has his pictures everywhere. And so we finally went up, and he had this full studio, and like, that guy's on a different level, man. But he definitely does more than 6 push-ups a day. But yeah, it's cool to still have a business like this and even for you guys, man. I mean, you're still obviously probably bumming that you should be knee deep in baseball right now. And yeah. I don't know, how are you? What are you doing other than pods and hitting the airwaves to kind of fill the time?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm sitting in literally the only corner of my house that, I can, make sure, because I got 2 kids. I don't want to, they're doing their thing. I got a dog, the whole. So it's been a lot of this, man. And that's one thing, I wanted to ask you, because it creeps me out, because when you look at, all of a sudden everyone's working from home, right? Everyone's doing like even TV shows, like Jimmy Fallon's interviewing people from the basement, and you kind of get an inside look of what they look like when they're home if they're not wearing the suit and they've got the studio. But it kind of creeps me out in the sense that I don't want this. If this is what it's going to be in 10 years, that everyone just talks through Zoom, I need to be around people. I know how it is for you. But I mean, being a comedian, man, I mean, aren't you doing like virtual shows or whatever?
Yeah, I just did one today. Yeah, it was weird, man. It was like, I like to do a lot of crowd work in my shows. If your audience YouTube's any of my stand-up clips, there's a bunch. If you just type in my name plus crowd work, I've just gotten really comfy with interacting with the crowd and spinning, whether it's handing hecklers, which there's a bunch of those clips or whatnot. And so I'm trying to do that even during the Zoom. And it was weird because everybody had kind of muted themselves so they could listen. But then I couldn't really hear. I was hearing peppered laughter, and then some of their pictures would go out and then pop back up. So, dude, it was a challenge. But I was only supposed to do about 20 minutes. I did almost an hour, and it kind of and it's easy money, man. And I have buddies that are stacking up gigs like that, and why not? Because you still do want to, like, this is huge to even have this interaction and flexing that muscle. You got to do it because, man, not being on stage, it's truly, I think the longest I'd gone up until this point not doing stand-up was probably 10 days. If I went back home to Seattle and I was like, I'm going to treat this as a true shutdown. This is pre-corona. And I try to do that a lot when I go to Seattle. I try to schedule it around, there's a couple clubs I'll try to pop in on and do spots just because it's a drug after a while. You can't not go up. And also I'm constantly writing but you can hit the burnout sometimes. But when I go to Seattle, I try to choose that as an opportunity to be at my family's disposal and take my nieces and nephew for a couple nights, so my sister and brother-in-law can get it in, and kick it with my mom and stepdad and go to M's games and just really be a person, because that's also incredibly crucial to stand up, is like living a life worth writing about, they always say, which is tough now because everyone, when it comes back, it's going to almost be like when Trump got elected. Most comedians are going to have a lot of like quarantine material, but again, it's all going to be like your perspective. So it won't be too tiring because everyone's going to have a different view of what they did or whatnot. But then I think after a few weeks of that, and hopefully we get back to it sooner than later, people are going to be thirsty for like, all right, now let's back to the escape from the real world,
Yeah, and it's interesting. The one thing, like, I'm thinking to myself, all my friends are working from home. They're all got, office jobs and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, well, actually, my company just said for the next 12 months, work at home. I'm like, I don't want to live in a world where, like, these cubicle workers go home. Well, I don't need that because the one thing that creeps me out, and this is where I'm getting to, is e-games. Dude, I'm screwed, man. These e-games are going off. These kids are making millions of bucks. These nerds.
Millions, dude.
And I've got nothing against video games, man. Have at it. I played, some Tony La Russa baseball or whatever it was back in the day.
Nice.
on Sega, right? We call it the Mega Drive. I think it's Sega Mega Drive or something. It's different.
Nice. Yeah.
From the States. It's the only baseball game you could find anywhere. Like it was, and you had to have it imported from the States. Oh, dude, yeah. And it cost you had to pay double. It was ridiculous, right?
You never got RBI baseball or MLB The Show or
that was later on, but I'm talking when I'm like,
Bases Loaded. You ever played Bases Loaded?
No.
Damn, dude.
I grew up with kangaroos jumping all over me in a hut in the outback. There.
All right, that's way cooler.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but no, dude, it creeps me out because this is like, it's kind of giving people ideas in the sense of saying, oh shit, I don't need these people in the office, beat it. And then like sports, all of a sudden there's this thing with MLB now, and I'm seeing it all over, notifications, playing simulated baseball games, and I'm just like, no, please no, because this is kind of. You're right though, man. I think once this is all said and done, I think people are going to just be thirsty for some interaction. And get out and get out with people,
I hope so, dude. I mean, I have a feeling baseball might. I mean, you want the shows to come back, and I think with, I'm not at a level obviously like a Joe Rogan that's doing 5,000 seat theaters. So if they do start back and say, hey, maybe a couple hundred people, you hope that a lot of civilians will want to roll the dice. But with sports, it seems like, I think, what is your take on the no fan thing? I want sports right now regardless. I don't really care. It's like, look, there's sacrifices are going to have to be made. It obviously will be different. Football will be different with no fans. But like maybe you can simulate crowd noise or fucking take some of those sound effects from MLB The Show and Sega LaRussa baseball and put them in, so that just to kind of fill the atmosphere. But I mean,
first of all, the first reaction from the players was, I'm not doing that. The players union always has to step in and be on their terms. So I think that was kind of the first reaction. But it's going to get to a point where MLB, even though the strongest players union of any sport there is, but MLB still runs the show. It's going to get to a point where it's like, well, you either do this or you're not going to get paid, straight up.
Yeah.
And I think the players, it's going to get a couple more weeks into this, and they're going to be like, shit, I just want to play. Or when it gets financial, that's when it's going to be the difference. When all of a sudden money's involved, and it's going to be like, well, here's the deal. Otherwise, you're technically striking like you did back in the early 90s. But you never want to get to that place. So if it ever gets to that, this is it. If you don't like it, go ahead and strike like they did, during the CBA back in '94, and the players will go, okay, I'll play. So that was the first little thing. Look, I think they need to play. Obviously, I'm not a doctor by any means. I got no idea what's happening. I'm still on the fence about. I get this thing's out of control and spreading, and the numbers and everything else. I still don't feel like the media's quite give me the whole. I got no idea, man, no idea, and that's I don't think anyone does, right? So it's one of these things. I think MLB's smart in a sense. They came out and said, oh, hey, mid-May, late May, we're going to be back on the field. And they got crushed for it. The media's like, oh, you're out of your mind, this and that. But they're smart because now people are talking about Major League Baseball. And on the flip side, if they don't get it done, hey, at least we tried. You know what I mean? So it's kind of good for the game, whether or not that happens. And if they try and do it where you're at in Arizona, obviously it's not going to be the same. But, the ratings, TV ratings will be through the roof, man. Just go for it. Do it.
What do you miss most about like, because we've never experienced a full takeaway like this. Yeah. So I'm so curious for people like you that have played and been in it and have just such an even greater understanding and an appreciation for the game. Because I think as much as a fan as I am, and it's like anything, it's like comedy. Like unless you are gone through the trenches of it, you've got a deeper connection to it. So it almost like it pains you to the core a little bit to also for yourself selfishly to not get to be enjoying it and be a part of it, but to know certain guys that probably I don't know made the team or were a couple minor league games away.
Right. So and that's the one thing. Well, two things. One, for me personally, doing what I'm doing now, it's addicting. Like to be talking about baseball and having a chance to do it on TV and radio and. When the season ends, I'm bummed out because, I love watching the game. I work with an awesome crew of people, and I like, give my opinion. I like, freezing up, all those little things that, it kind of gets my only little adrenaline rush I have because I don't play anymore. So it kind of gives me that little hint of that, which I really miss. But there's players, dude, you hit the nail on the head. There's guys who are killing it in spring training right now, and it's kind of do or die in a sense. For example, like Austin Nola, right? Yeah. Now, I haven't thought about this a whole lot, but here's a guy who knows that there's this slew of young players coming. He has to hit now. 2020 was his year to hit. He got a chance. He's late 20s, got a chance to come up last year, went off with the Mariners. And all of a sudden, now he's going to make the team. They basically told him that. Well, guess what? It gets shut down, dude. Another year of this or whatever. Or he only gets half a year of service time in half a year to do it. He hits 220. Oh. See ya. That's for those guys, it's tough. So, there's all these little things that go into it. I think, a couple of weeks in, man, they're going to have to do something just to get something going. But again, I don't know. I'm not throwing conspiracy theories. I feel like I'm this close to going to watch Alex Jones's info.
Yeah. Oh, I know, dude. I know. There's been a couple theories that have been pushed out on Facebook, and late night after a couple of tequilas, I'm like, you know what, dude? Yeah. You know what? Yeah, dude. I think that, I think Panda Express is behind the coronavirus. Some sort of weird dot connector. But look, I think because there's no rule book for this type of situation, it truly is just going to be that's why the NBA was even like, dude, maybe we do like a best of 3 tournament in Vegas or in the Bahamas. Like they understand the need and also the ability to capitalize on the viewership. And one thing that I I know that I'm trying to do that. My buddy and I are starting a live stream of going back and watching old NBA games from the 90s and old commercials, and we're just gonna kind of do commentary over them because, look,
That's
people are
awesome.
re-airing all these old games, so we're like, well, we're watching them too. Like, people might want to watch these if they are with a little bit of the kind of fun commentary and like we did a
For
little test of
sure.
it yesterday and it was awesome. We might do it with baseball too. We'll see how it goes. And baseball actually would be probably even better because there's more opportunity for small talk and really
Yeah.
kind of give the commentary that I mean, because there's been times I've been up there with you and Riz and I'm like, Riz, dude, let me on the mic. He's like, dude, I'd get in so much trouble. I'm like, dude, I've done so much morning radio for stand up. I know, like, first of all, I know there's a drop button. I know there's like the delay, but
Right.
also, dude, I have conditioned myself to edit out F bombs or whatever and
Right.
keep it clean. I can be clean. I can be baseball radio clean. And he's
Yeah.
just like, we'll see, we'll see. So, selfishly too, I'm like, dude, here's another season where I got to wait to possibly get on the mic at Safeco, but for T-Mobile.
I don't want to get myself here or Aaron Goldsmith in trouble here at all if our boss is listening, but it was the sixth, seventh inning, and I brought in the punter for University of Washington. He's Australian, and he's sitting there. His buddy's got a couple of beers deep. He comes in. I'm like, yeah, come in, man, grab a seat. Like at T-Mobile in the radio booth. And then Aaron's like, oh, hey, I've done a game. I covered a game, college football, back in whatever January. He's like, oh, hey, nice to meet you, mate. Like thick Aussie accent. This guy's super like bogan Aussie. Never really seen baseball at all, right? So he's sitting up there like this, with a beer in his hand. And Aaron just swings a chair and goes, put these on, would you? Put the headphones on. And he's like, all right, puts them on. And he's like, so in the booth right now, we've got University of Washington. He's sitting there like, yes, sir.
Whoa,
so,
no heads up. Game.
He's like, oh, yeah, they hit the ball pretty far. It was brutal, man. It was like, I'm sitting there watching this go down. I'm like, oh, this is just bad. And so I had to.
How was he?
Oh, brutal, mate.
Oh, man.
And he's just, because he just doesn't know baseball. He hasn't got a clue, right? He's Australian. Like, that's how it is. But it was like, and I'm sitting there going, Aaron, what are you doing, man? Like, so I'm surprised Rick didn't have you on, dude. It must have been a close game or something. He doesn't trust you. That's the problem.
Well, dude, for sure. He's seen my stand-up, dude. He knows I'm a loose cannon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, so,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question because I've been to your beautiful country, performed a lot of stand-up. Did the Sydney Opera House had with Adam Devine, we did a whole tour. Went to Perth and Brisbane and Melbourne and went to the Sanctuary and like unreal and got
Where
wicked
was your
sunburn.
favorite city?
Dude, we went to some beach that was famous where the your 4th of July was happening. What's the big famous beach? Is it in Perth?
Bondi? Are you talking about on the East Coast in Sydney?
No, I think it was in Perth.
West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, mate. Yeah, West Coast.
Oh, okay. Maybe in Sydney. Regardless, we spent what's the day called? It's your 4th of July. What's that? Yeah, dude. That was crazy. And the Sydney Opera House though was epic and the lights went out. Like I get up there, it's this magnificent building and you can't see anything into the crowd. And I'm about 3 minutes in and I'm doing some dick joke. And the light just slowly starts to fade out and then just goes off and then turns back on bright real quick to where I just go, huh? And look up and then the audience all laughed. So I was like, okay, good. They saw it. I was like, guys, I got to be honest. I thought I was having a stroke. I've never had one. I thought that's how it happens where the light just slowly goes out on your life. And then I was like, or maybe it was the ghost of Mozart being like, hey, dude, enough with the dick jokes. You're in a very prestigious venue. But I have to know, as an Aussie, do you go Hugh Jackman or do you go Russell Crowe?
I'm going to say Hugh Jackman.
You're going to be on the booth, locked in the booth with one guy talking baseball.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go Hugh Jackman. He's this dude who, he's enough. Look, Russell Crowe's amazing, right? Now, you're an actor, so you know the craft way better than I do.
Dude, yeah. Come on.
What was the show he was just on? It was unreal about the Fox. Fox. What was that called?
It was on Showtime. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what we played. Yeah.
That was unreal, mate. That was ridiculous. Like that was, but Hugh Jackman just seems like that guy who can just kind of jump from this topic to that topic and
Oh yeah.
have an understanding of everything and just be crystal clear. Where Russell Crowe, I feel like you'd really have to sort of nudge him, to get him going a little bit if he was in that situation. If you're sitting there in a booth with him, but
Now, who would you take back up in a fight? Because Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but Russell Crowe has thrown phones at people that work in hotels. And I got to be honest, like playing an action hero or being a straight up like fucking fiery dude in real life, I almost got to go Crowe on this one.
Yeah, I do, but I just think
like have a phone on handy to give him.
Yeah, I think there's like some sneaky like Krav Maga black belt that you got no idea, like super calm out of Hugh Jackman. I'm thinking like there's some little something like that where he can do something sneaky on the street, where Russell Crowe's too out of shape. I'm just crushing Russell Crowe right now. By the way, I think he's half Kiwi, he's half New Zealand, so that's why I'm crushing him. So yeah, see it.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to ask you though, man. This is something that, again, I lived in LA for a long time. I hang out at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
All the time. Loved it, right? And this is however long ago this was, and you go up there and they're like, oh, special guest. And you mentioned having Bill Burr on the show, and this is where I learned about Bill Burr. This is way back. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's hilarious. But he got up on stage, and I think there's a lot of people in the audience that obviously weren't from there. They're like, oh shit, Bill Burr. So they're expecting this 1 hour stand up. But he gets up there and he's just kind of chopping up little bits and pieces. I guess, like you guys call it, you're working on.
Yeah, you're working out. Yeah, it's a workout. Yeah. Same thing like for an athlete. Yeah.
Is that okay? How do you get to that level where you can go to a place, because getting into the Comedy Store to get up on stage there is no easy task, right? Obviously, it's not like you mentioned, like the Joe Rogan sold out arena, but at the same time, that's like royalty in a sense. How do you get to that level where you can actually go into the Comedy Store and say, hey, listen, I need to go work on some material. How long does it take, and what does it take to get to that level?
Well, I wish there was like some golden ticket answer, but there's really, even when I started and comics above me tried to throw me gems of advice, it's like control what you can control, which is writing every day, getting up all the time, driving 2 hours to San Diego to do 8 minutes in front of somebody, or host, or I did so much of that, and you have to. And then look, there's some guys that do less of that and kind of click and meet somebody that takes them on the road sooner than later, but you can't there's no replacement for the work, which is why it's such a true, fair profession where, look, there's a lot of people that it's all subjective. There's people that think Louis C.K., who his new special I'm going to watch tonight, apparently everyone's told me it's amazing, which I can't wait. And I have no doubts because he's a great comic. Pervert, but whatever, dude. Like, it doesn't take away from his comedy. And it's like the guy, took his hits, paid his dues, fucking did some weird shit, wasn't in the same light as Cosby at all, which was real fucked that people did that, because it's like, yeah, dude, the guy was creepy and did some weird pervy shit, but by no means was he like drugging people. Anyway.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Louis C.K. fans out there who will publicly say, "Oh no, I'm never going to watch him again." The minute that special pops up, they'll go, "Oh, where is it?"
Oh, 1,000%, dude. Because people always, they love a comeback, and they know how great he is, and they're like, they'll hear rumblings like I have already about how great it is. But you have to just pound the pavement, dude, and it sucks because when you're young and you're starting out, all you want to do is be further along than you are, and 3 years in, I remember being so frustrated that I didn't have a half-hour Comedy Central special, or that I hadn't gotten a late-night spot on The Tonight Show. And every year you get better. You go, thank God it didn't happen then, because I'm this much more honed and polished, and I have more of a point of view that's, stronger to connect to a room full of strangers. The Comedy Store is up on a pedestal because it's, you have to get past at all the clubs to become a regular and call in for your avails, which is where I'm at now, which is what even Bill Burr does. You call in on Monday, you put in your avails for the week, and there's 3 rooms, and you get your spots divvied up, and they are workouts. You go in for 15, sometimes 20 minutes, depending on the show, and that's where people work on their hours to then go on the road. And I mean, shit, dude, I've brought up Chappelle, I've brought up, Dice Clay, Burr, obviously. The best, you get on these lineups, everyone's doing the same shit where you're trying to work out the stuff to take to the big paying audiences. Right. People don't realize sometimes at the Comedy Store what they're getting with a $20 admission fee.
Oh, it's amazing.
Dude, some of these lamps I've been on one night. I remember it was my buddy was in town, and this was a night Chappelle popped in and did 3 hours at the end of the night. But I mean, this lineup was crazy, and it was me and Theo Vaughn and Chris D'Elia and Whitney Cummings and David Spade and Burt Kreischer and Sebastian Maniscalco. And it's just Joey Diaz, Rogan, just hitters down the line. And people are like, dude, this happens every night. And it's gotten so popular that the one downside is some comics feel like, well, now it's tougher to really work out new material because the audience is so hot, you feel like you need to crush. But it's it's a really cool fraternity to be a part of. And again, if I were to tell a young comic, like asking the question you did about how do you get there, it's like, again, control what you can control, which is getting better, get funnier every year. Be cool. Don't be a piece of shit. Don't be dramatic. Don't be jealous. Don't cause tiffs. Don't don't talk shit, and don't turn down an opportunity to hang out. Some comics will argue. Oh, go ahead.
Is there a lot of jealousy? Is there a lot of look?
It's like any business, man. Yeah, there's a lot of catty.
You know, the guys who are like a step or two above you, right? As far as like where they've gone and what they've done in stand up, and you get to know them, and you're threatening them in a sense, but they have, hey, I know the guy at this club, or I know this person, or whoever it is, because it's a lot, not all about, but a lot of it's about networking in a sense.
Sure.
So is there a lot of that where, hey, they're just going to completely shut it down when giving you any kind of lead to try and help your career out?
I mean, it depends. I think there's a lot of support in the comedy world, and also people above you that are crushing it. Joe Rogan doesn't spend time thinking about how Adam Ray's, on his coattails, or on his, whatever the saying is, fucking checking in the rearview mirror or making sure that he's going to steal his protein shaker. Like there's enough shit to go around, and I think people that are at that level are only. And I don't even think Rogan is looking at other guys as competition to him. I'm sure he enjoys where he's at, but I think it's people that are like in my position, and I will sometimes use, whether it's jealousy or I guess that's the word to describe it. If I see something that someone's doing that I want, I try to, and this is a healthy mind shift. Early on, it'd be straight jealousy that I would let eat me up, and now I try to use it as fuel to the fire and go, all right, well, shit, this guy got that part, or man, they're doing a special, and you want one on Netflix, and you're only getting offers from these places. Well, shit, again, control what you can control and get better. Maybe they'll come at you, but there are other factors, because even with Netflix, they pride themselves on diversity and being star fuckers in a sense, where they only give out specials to people that are truly like heavy hitters on the all over the map. But being a white guy too, man, in comedy right now, there's no shortage of us. So it's finding your lane and something different about you to separate yourself. And that's why I was like, hey, Riz, let me on the mic in the booth, because maybe I could drop a couple choice words that might go viral. And then Netflix is like, hey, who's that loose cannon in the booth? And then they give me a spec. No, that's not how it works at all. But yeah, man, you just gotta.
Is Netflix, is that the ultimate? Like, is that now the pinnacle? Because Netflix is really sort of showcasing the best comedians. And, I mean, this is a really good time to
not
be.
Not even the best, though. Not even the best. I would say, like, it's, there's.
Well, the biggest.
It's the biggest platform to get seen because it's global, dude. And I've had friends that get specials on there and are now doing shows in Australia and in Sweden and Israel and Spain, because, dude, they'll just pop up and on Netflix and get such a big reach. But I think it's getting it to a place where the most people can see it. Even YouTube on Comedy Central's channel, I'm starting to have discussions with, because even there's millions of people subscribed to that channel that can get it seen, and it's easily accessible, and that's what you want. Even getting it on HBO is cool, but they don't make it as easy to find their shit. So you just want to get your stuff in a way that people can see it. I know a handful of comics that are great. Netflix passed on them, so they shot it themselves and sold it to a smaller streaming service that, again, had a huge reach. So yeah.
So with you obviously growing up in Seattle, getting to LA, what made you move down there? Now it's obvious, okay, I want to pursue stand-up comedy, but was there something that pulled you down there, or were you like, hey, mom and dad or whoever, boom, I'm doing this. I'm going to go try down with nothing, with $5 in my pocket. And I went for it. Was it that story, or was there something that said, hey, man, come down here. We want you to do, was it an acting gig or something that kept you there for 3 months? That boom, I'm staying.
Well, it was acting school at USC. I had had
you went to
auditions.
School at USC.
Yeah. So it was in the BFA acting school, and my SAT scores were fine, and like I had extracurricular shit, and I obviously wasn't gonna play sports there, even though I tried to walk on for basketball, and they were like, "Nah, man, how tall are you?" I was like 6 feet, and they're like, I remember the coach at the time. I was walking on this practice, and he was like, shoot a shot from right there, and it was a 3 in the corner. I hit one, and then he goes, shoot one from there, and I missed it, and he goes, see ya, man. I go, that's my tryout. And he goes, you weren't gonna make it anyway. I was like, fair enough. And but I went down to the acting school, and that was getting into that school. The acting school recommended me to USC, so then they had to take me, and so that's what moved me to LA. Otherwise, I probably would have gone to the University of Washington, then the theater school there, and then moved down 4 years later. So thankfully, I had a head start, because just being acclimated to LA is so, as you know, it's daunting. So to get a little bit of a head start and feel somewhat like I had my bearings was really beneficial. But LA, then moving off campus into the real LA world, because I didn't leave campus to go do stand-up during college. I did a few frat parties here and there and followed bands that started 2 hours late, where people were just like, get off. And I'm like, dude, I've got a great story about Charlie Brown. They're like, shut the fuck up.
but you were in, hey, Adam, one sec, buddy. Can you, what's up, sweetie? What's going on? Sorry, this is my daughter. This is Kennedy.
Hey, Kennedy.
Say hi.
Sorry for the swearing.
No, you're fine. I'll get headphones on. What's up?
I was trying to do this scissors.
Okay, quick, grab them. Sorry, mate. You got it? Hey? The scissors? I don't know. Do you know where's mom? Where's mommy? One sec, mate.
Yeah.
I was saying you had to step away because you had bigger things on Instagram Instagram party or something. No, so who are you talking to?
So Mike Henry, who's the voice of Cleveland on Family Guy, and Greased Up Deaf Guy, and Herbert, and he's just a comedy legend. And so I became chummy with him through a buddy of mine that was writing on Family Guy, still is, and actually wrote the Family Guy Simpsons crossover episode. My buddy did. And so he linked me up with Mike to be on my podcast, and we just kind of become buds. And he was doing an Instagram live thing all week with a bunch of other comedy guys. And so today was my day. He's doing Seth MacFarlane on Monday. And anyway, so because we got a little late start, I was bumping into his time. So I appreciate you hanging tight. But
no, you kidding? No
maybe
problem.
if you were on a cartoon, I would have stuck around. But I do it by who's got animation priorities.
Yeah, I get it.
And I was able to get a cocktail, so everything worked out.
There you go. Hey, by the way, before we got off last time, you're talking about doing stand-up in front of frat boys and college kids and stuff. You were in a frat, right?
I was in a frat. Yeah, I was in.
Picture that, dude, at all.
Oh wow, really? By the way, I just turned my the soundboard on. Is the audio better now?
No, it still sounds like shit, but anyway, who cares?
Oh, really? For real?
No, it sounds good. It sounds good.
Okay, good. Okay.
Sounds big.
Yeah, man, the frat thing was not something I planned on, but when I got to college, there was a thing for Jews to move in early. It was called, it was called Fresh Fest or something, and it was where freshmen could meet other kids at school that were of the tribe. And you get to move in 2 days early and avoid the chaos of moving day, and then get to get a set of friends before school starts. And I got rushed by guys that were in the fraternity. And again, I was like, nah, this is my thing. I had an idea of what the frat was, which was forcing guys to piss their pants or get too fucked up, and it was just chaos. And then I started meeting some of these guys, and they're like, come with us to the Laker game on Thursday and just see and meet some of the guys. I'm like, for free? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, all right. And then they're like, come to this thing on Friday, come to this thing. And then they were all like cool guys. And then next thing you know, I'm rushing the fraternity. And then it was just like insane. And I bowed out. And I did 6 of the 12 weeks of rushing. And then I was also in the musical my freshman year and had a girlfriend long distance in Santa Barbara. And I was like, this is too much for one kid, man. I just learned what a wet dream is. I can't be doing 3 different things at one time like this. And so I quit the frat, ended up repledging and did it the second semester with a much cooler group. Here's an example of the 2 different groups that I was dealing with. The first in the fall when I rushed, we had to eat these huge burritos at this local Mexican restaurant and then run laps in our suits. And we're running laps all around the campus. And at one point I'm like, you guys think we can swing by my place real quick so I can grab a fresh pair of socks? I'm in the very back. Right. And everyone's like, dude, shut up, Ray. This isn't funny, dude. God, this isn't funny. And I was like, man, if we can't joke about what's happening right now, then this is not gonna be for me. And the next group I had was all about it. It was about poking fun and not taking the piss. What do Aussies say?
That's it. You got it.
Taking the piss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So guys and look, dude, that goes across the board for any friendship now, man. If I'm gonna be in your life and vice versa, like if you can't laugh at yourself, brother-in-law who I love to death, and he's a white dude, and he's a rapper, and he's not Eminem, so that's a lot to deal with. And then he's got a heart of gold, but like I've now gotten comfy enough to be able to bust his balls, and he takes it, and I was like, oh, good, because if he does have a somewhat tough exterior, and if he was not receptive, I'd have to start, I don't know, comprising some separation papers or something, put them under my sister's pillow.
You mentioned that, with Australians school, I'm just taking the piss. Basically, it means, I'm just giving you a bit of shit, just chill out. The one thing, speaking of LA, now obviously you went to SC and then you lived there, but everyone in LA that I found just takes themselves way too seriously. That was my one big complaint. I said to my wife, who lived there for over 10 years, I was like,
right.
Man, everyone here just is so full of drama. Like, everyone takes themselves very seriously. Again, I think in your world, probably a little bit different. But I'm talking, it drove me nuts. Because for me, dude, it's like that, man. You have to laugh at your situation. Absolutely.
You do, dude. It's life's too short, man. And look, I get, because it took me a minute to warm up to that concept of like poking fun at yourself. And I think because I got, I was just talking with Mike about this, about where the comedy came from for me, and it was, I was a big kid growing up, and my coach when we played basketball, he called me Krispy Kreme Abdul-Jabbar. That's a fat joke, and that was well earned because I smelled like baked beans and mac and cheese when I sweat.
So you were a fat kid growing up.
Oh yeah, dude. And so I'd get all the names, and Adam Fathom, Jello Jiggler, Penis and Tits Kid. I got everything you could. So offensive and on the nose, but hilarious looking back. And so eventually I started to kind of, it hurt. And then I was like, I'm going to fire back. And then I would start, whether it was an insult or doing other funny things, I started to become known as the funny kid, not the fat kid. And that's when I was like, all right, I think this is definitely really fun. It's it's letting people see me for me and not, just looking on the surface. But kids are also so cruel, man. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how much damage they're doing with just saying shit. There was a kid that used to tease me, and when I finally started to fight back with words, his name's Jesse Davis, and he always wore really tight sweatpants. And all I did was call him tight pants. And dude, he lost his shit. Right. I mean, I was just like, I'm just commenting on the elasticity of your pantaloons, and you're losing your mind in the 4th grade. This is
it's way worse now though, man. But the kids, just okay. I've just discovered, a couple months ago, I just discovered what TikTok is. Mate, I mean, you're talking the amount of work that takes. Like, you basically have to edit, produce, do a whole dance, and you have to get the likes, this, that, and the other. But kids now online just absolutely get crushed.
Oh, yeah.
Online. It's got to be way worse, man, trying to keep up with those expectations.
Oh, yeah. The TikTok thing is, by the way, you don't feel like you're missing out. It's going to come and go. There's never going to be a shortage of quick apps like that are going to provide, the future with things to distract them from actually helping the future. But I mean, it's also, do you remember Vine? Were you,
Yeah.
Also, just think about YouTube. I remember when YouTube hit and the amount of things that were at our disposal content-wise, from a cat video to like bum fights to 2 Girls, 1 Cup. I mean, dude, we saw it all in a 6-month span. And I remember at one point I was like, I think YouTube is gonna have its day and get, pushed out by a bigger. But guess what, dude? They are
killing it.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, dude, I don't know where you're putting this interview unless you're just saving this for like a rainy day, but it'll probably be up on YouTube, yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's on YouTube. So
wait,
yeah,
so who else did you interview today, or is on the show on this show?
Who did I do today?
Yeah.
You're my only one today. No, I did Randy Couture. Now, by the way, which coming on with this, and I've met you a couple times. I actually met Randy back in 2010. I had a terrible year in the big leagues, like terrible. And I need to switch it up. I need to get my head back. I was soft, man. It was like, I was dealing with all this like mental stuff that the game just crushed me on. And so I seeked out doing MMA training, like it's called MMA athletics. And Randy basically like co-founded that. They had football players like Clay Matthews was doing it, a bunch of other football players. I was the only baseball player, right? And so I'd go in and there's Randy. And look, man, I did some boxing and stuff as a kid. And by the way, I was addicted. It was a blast. But I never actually had someone hit me back. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just hitting pads and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, we're going to start doing wrestling, which has nothing to do with baseball, but it was more just a mental thing, right? And there I am. By the way, dude, I have no friggin' clue what I'm doing wrestling. Like I could throw some punches, throw some kicks, do some of the Muay Thai stuff, whatever. And there's Randy Couture in the corner just kind of standing there with his hands on his hips. He was like an Olympic alternate wrestler, plus he's like a 6-time MMA. I'm like, do I have to do this in front of him? Can he leave the room? It was brutal.
Yeah.
And then he came at one point. He came over, and I'm like on the floor. He goes, no. This is what you want to do. And his huge friggin' hands just grabbed this arm and did this. I'm like, okay, I've got this dude on top of me right now. This is like the most awkward, uncomfortable situation. So anyway, coolest dude ever. That's where I met him. Kept in touch with him, for a long time, and it was good, man. But there was some awkward times during that interview where, hey, man, like, what, when you got knocked out by Chuck Liddell, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, should I be asking him this? I'm like, hey, when you got knocked out by Chuck Liddell, like, what's the protocol after that? And then he's diving in this story, which was awesome. And then like the reception goes out. I'm like, oh, hey, Randy, can we just restart that? It's super awkward. But anyway,
my
he's the
God,
best, man. Yeah, he's the best. So Randy, a couple of Mariner players, young guys who are always fun to talk to. These 22-year-old big prospects the Mariners about to have, man. That's a lot of fun to chat to these guys. They'll talk about anything. So it's been fun.
Is there a shift in the prospect of today versus 10 years ago in the way, obviously social media wasn't a thing at that time or as prominent as it is now, but do you find that they're even more willing to just spill the beans and be themselves because they know that there's they just have more outlets to do it? So an interview, they know they gotta kind of come with the goods, right?
Yeah, dude. Put it this way, man. In 2009, when Twitter first started, the Mariners were, big on the trying to be ahead of the game. Kevin Martinez was the guy who did the public relations. He came to me and said, hey, do you want to have a Twitter account? Like we kind of talked, together. I said, hey, I'll do it for sure. Dude, back then, if you did any kind of look at me, self-documentation or any kind of social media or any of that kind of stuff, it was literally, hold on, it's frozen. Adam, you got me, dude?
We good?
Yeah, it's freezing up more for some reason. You're frozen.
How's that?
No, let me call you back. It's frozen.
Okay, cool. Fuck, my bad.
Just back on that. So 2000, I think it was 2009.
Yep.
Twitter just started, and the man was like, "Hey, you're pretty proactive, out there." And I was always good talking to media and all this kind of stuff because back then it was like, "Oh, the media is the enemy." But I always thought to myself, like, dude, I came from Australia, man. Like, any attention I get to play baseball, dude, I'm putting my hand up. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Respect what I'm doing as opposed to baseball.
Yeah.
So I was like, I loved it, man. I was always good with media and everything else. So he said, hey, will you start it? Would you get on Twitter and do some stuff? I was like, for sure. Well, first of all, I didn't tell any of my teammates because there's no way. Like, I'd just cop it from these salty veterans, right, on that team. And then they did this night where it's I follow @-18. You get a shirt, you do this thing. Well, I'm doing this thing talking about my Twitter and all this. Now, remember, this is 2009, man. This is baseball. It's like taboo. You look like just a complete douche about like look at me kind of deal. Well, they're showing this the stream in the clubhouse. So all these veterans. Mind you, I'm like a couple years in the big leagues. They're all standing around going, "What is this guy?" Like I nearly deleted it. Within
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was bad. Within 12 months, though, a bunch of dudes were getting on Twitter and it was okay. And now, dude, it's just completely had a mind of its own. It's just trying to keep up with the content, All
Did
these
they?
players to throw themselves out
Oh
there.
yeah. Did they even come to you guys with a like an HR type, hey, this is the do's and don'ts of what we're dealing with? Because I know some team you hear some teams have to like monitor certain
Yeah.
players because they're like, yo, you're saying too much. We want you to have a voice and be yourself, but like maybe I don't even know if some teams have like a don't even be on it rule, but
Yeah, it's now it's gotten to the point where it's like you can't stop playing. There used to be like that. It used to be like, hey, look, this is okay, this isn't. You have to be super like, hey, I'm just trying to give my team 110% cliche
right.
line every time you speak to the media. But now, obviously, they monitor all that. They see what you're doing. Even for me, man, I mean, I essentially work for a team. And it's something that I can't get on there and if someone has a bad start, I can't crush them.
Yeah.
Because especially on social media, if it's something away from being on TV or radio, I can't get out there and be like, oh hey, so and so sucked tonight or something, where other people can. So
Yeah.
I get that all the time. I'm like, oh, stop being such a homer or whatever, because it's like, dude, first of all, I work for the team. I'm going to be around these guys every single day, and I
Yeah.
friggin' played, man. This shit's hard, all right. So
Yeah.
if the kid makes an error, right? It's because this game's friggin' hard. So shut up. Trust me, I cut that all the time. Like, oh, you kissing his ass and he was terrible tonight. What are you saying? But whatever. So
Tell me this real quick. When you make an error during a game, is there truly, because I know what it felt like in the seventh grade to make an error and have my buddy's dad look at me like this.
hey, dude.
Like, so I can only imagine on a major league level.
All right, I had the yips thrown. Okay, so any bunt down the first base line, not many people know this either. So, from the pitcher's mound over to first base, any ball in that area, I'd pick it up, airmail that thing. My last game in the big leagues, 2014, we're playing the Mets. I was with the D-backs, and I've done the old. And if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but I'll do my best here. Pick the ball up, just email that thing, right? And then I did the old. I looked at my hand, like something got caught on my hand. No, I just know that every time I pick that ball up, I either hold onto it or it's going in the stands, right?
Oh my
Brutal.
God.
And it's something I'm like, oh yeah, just slipped out. But when you've done it 2 or 3 times in a year, they're like, dude, you got a problem. Let's get early work. Let's go.
Oh
Rep.
my
Yeah.
God.
Oh, the yips is real, man. The yips. I don't know if it's for you guys, if you freeze on stage or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, dude, like the lights, the lights fading out, and coming up on Stroke City at the Sydney Opera House, like that's maybe the equivalent, or a heckler, I guess, but that's still something you can control. With an air, it's like that shit happens, and I guess it's maybe a bad joke that doesn't go over well, but and I guess you just go same thing, you go next play, next joke, right? But is there someone when you make an air? Is it the manager? Is it the the GM, like a fellow player, or is there a unwritten rule in baseball where it's like everyone knows you didn't want to fuck up, so don't say anything, right?
Yeah, it's like, you know what, like the old saying, Ryan will be the first to tell you that he should make that play. You know what I'm saying? So like, if it's a problem, if it's a very obvious problem, you're doing early work. At 7 o'clock game, there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, in shorts and a shirt, and you're taking rep after rep and just trying to grab something mentally. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you're a young player, man, it can cost you that get an option down to AAA, dude. You do that a couple times, hey man, you can't pick up a baseball. See ya. Oh yeah, big time.
Man,
yeah, man, for
so
sure.
Stressful.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. That's the only reason why I didn't do it. The stress.
That's
had
right.
nothing to do with athletic prowess or timing or having my t-ball coach strike me out.
Dude,
Dude.
You guys were locked in there, man. Like I said, I was listening to that podcast with you in your high school football. I'm sitting going, damn, man, this guy was no joke. Like, they were serious.
He was the real deal, dude. And he again, I've never been in a situation where I've had a coach that could fire me up more than he could, man. I mean, he was truly like what you see in Friday Night Lights or Any Given Sunday. He was that guy that delivered these speeches and these, rah-rah, dude, it was just crazy. And it was, again, since I had seen him since I was a kid coaching when I went to the state basketball games and he was an assistant coach then, to get coached by him later on was like really crazy. So I'm glad we had that chat now. It's cool. I might even, look, it's probably only interesting to people who are, athletes or that went to my high school, but there's people like that I'd like to dive in and get
For
pull
sure.
pull some more pass from. But I have been getting hit up by a lot of kids that loved him, that were like, dude, great chat. I wish it was longer. I wish we would have talked about this. And some of them are like, I wish you wouldn't have said that. Like you definitely, because also we did this thing where I'm sure every athlete or ex-athlete does it, which is reliving the olden days and reminiscing and comparing. Like we did a lot where we were like, I basically threw them names of old athletes. It was, partly just for the nostalgia factor, but also because every dude does it where they're like, I mean, I'm sure you've relived games in your head, or you hit a certain mark on a field and you have a memory come back and you're like,
Oh yeah.
fuck, dude, if I had just gotten that strike. I do that all the time in basketball.
All the time, man. All the time. So when you were playing football in high school, were you at that point? Were you thinking to yourself, "I'm going to go do something big here"? No, obviously not in sport, but were you thinking first? This is what I was going to ask you. When you went to school at SC, was it because you wanted to become an actor, or because you wanted to do stand up?
To be an actor. So I went to the.
Oh shit! Okay,
I auditioned to be in the. There was a BFA and a BA acting school. So the BFA you audition for, thousands of kids audition. They take 20 kids, and you are together all 4 years with your classes laid out 9 to 6. You get your own class show each semester. The BA a little looser. You have room to minor in something. You don't have a huge curriculum laid out for you, so you have an opportunity to take other classes. So it's not as a priority. Not to say, I mean, look, I know kids that were BAs that have gone on to be fucking phenomenal talents, but the BFA was more prestigious. You auditioned. You were telling the school and that this was a priority for you, and you really wanted to do it. And so stand-up came because I was like, SNL was a dream of mine for a while. So I was like, oh, I know a lot of those guys have done it. I should probably start having that. And then once I graduated from SC and I wasn't doing plays anymore, I did one play after college in 2005. I loved the live fix, like being on stage. I did all through since fucking elementary school. So I was like, well, how can I achieve that and still flex the writing muscle and still being funny, and stand up I'd always been interested in, but it was knowing the grind that it required and staying away from it, because I was like, I first 2 years of stand up I was doing it maybe 3 times a month, and then when my girlfriend at the time, who was a news reporter in Reno. We went from LA to New York. She went to New York and then moved to Reno. And then she banged the camera guy, and that was a wrap on that story. I was like, dude, no need for the update at 11. I got the full report. and so
is that for real?
Oh yeah. There's a song. I wrote a song called Reno Cheater, which is about her and the guy. And I had my buddy animate it. And when we shot a music video, go onto YouTube after this, type in Adam Ray Reno Cheater. It's a really catchy song. There's a cartoon that tells the story. It's pretty great. Definitely bring it up during a broadcast and just put it on air next to Riz.
For sure.
Yeah. But no, so after that,
when you back up, dude, when you come back up with your buddies into the booth, I'm gonna say, Rick, step aside, champion. He's got a story for you guys.
Dude, I'm gonna hold you to that, but you'll also lose your job. But so to have a backup. But no, so after that, when we split, I was like, well, now there's no excuse for me not to jump in fully and commit, like I was mentioning earlier, like driving from here to here, to do a small set, just to, again, commit and sacrifice friendships, relationships, social life, and go for it. Because unfortunately, man, there's no way around it,
Yeah, that cameraman was probably the best thing that ever happened to you, in a sense, right?
Wow, dude, I did not look at it like that, but yeah, dude, wow. What are you trying to make me cry on your podcast? What's the theme of this show anyway? You trying to get all Dr. Phil on me? Now, Adam, I know Reno, okay, is a place you used to go perform at, but there's a giant source of emotion, okay, that you are tied to, and it's look, he banged your lover, but in a way, he loved your banging. It's a metaphor I don't use often, but I think it makes sense. We'll be right back.
But think about it, dude. First of all, time on your schedule is completely opened up, and 2, subconsciously, you've got something. I'm going to friggin' show you whether or not you said that out loud, right? Because I always go back anytime I'm myself or talking to whoever. Like, how the friggin' hell did I get a chance to play in the big leagues? And you go back and there's these moments that you can maybe laugh at now or think back at, fuck, that was a hard time in my life. But those little turning points did something to you to send you on that path. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, dude, you're exactly right. I mean, everyone needs a little extra push, whether it's one that you ask for or not. And I mean, look, it's weird, dude, because there's a part of me had thought that I would end up with her, and then there was a big part of me that was like, man, I need to. I'm not giving it my all because of this relationship, and again, that's part of the sacrifice I was referring to, and so I was as bummed out as I was like, well, shit, man, put your money where your mouth is. You kind of always complained internally about not being able to be in control of your whole schedule and not have anybody to answer to, and now you got that, so you got to do it. And I'm glad that I was, I guess, willing to step up to my own challenge that I created for myself. But I wanted to too, so it's it's one of those things too that's, and I think again why athletics and comedy are so comparable. It's like, if you enjoy the process of getting better and the highs with the lows and the grind and like having like that community of comics that you're coming up with the same way you have with players that you're coming up through the system and getting into the show, and it's just, you love all of it. And the fact that you're still involved as heavy as you are is like, that's so fucking cool, man. I mean, there's probably so many guys that would love to be in your spot.
Yeah, but you talk about with sports, and I was always obviously part of team sports. I talk about individual sports, team sports, but with comedy, it's not like you've got coach or teammate. By the way, in the minor leagues, you got teammates. They're not your teammates. The biggest competitors you have are the dudes who are in the same locker room as you. Like, let's get real. Throughout the whole time from when you get out of high school or college or whatever it is. But okay, all right. So if you're like coming from, if stand-up wasn't your first thing, how shit scared were you the first time you got up on stage? And where was that at?
Oh man, that was the Giggles Comedy Club in Seattle, which for a brief time went from Giggles to Jiggles, the strip club, and then back to Giggles. And I think now it's
I know exactly
Giggles.
where it is. I spent a lot of time.
Yeah. At the comedy club. Yeah. And just as sad though, the comedy as the stripping. It was. I don't know what was funnier, quite honestly, but there was a nice run of comedy there in the early '90s at Giggles with, I mean, Seinfeld and Gaffigan and Bill Burr. Like, it was Greg Giraldo, who's my favorite comic of all time. There was a lot of people that truly, made that club a thing. And so to get to do open mics there and have that be my home club, and then it shifted to Jiggles, and I had to find a new spot. But yeah, it was terrifying, man. Terrifying, but also because I did so much theater in high school, I was not as scared as I thought I would be. It was the writing that scared me. I was like, I dove in and had a couple buddies that I practiced a bunch of jokes on. And then when I was on stage, I was like comfy because I'd been on stage. And yeah, it's a different environment, and you're trying to make people laugh versus doing a play where they're just listening and you're doing your thing and the material is all, prepped. And I was a little too word perfect when I first started, and it wasn't as loose as I am now, obviously, to be able to riff. Yeah. But I do remember my second time at Giggles, I brought maybe 20 people to the open mic, and this guy, they give you 7 minutes, and he put me at the very end. Terry Taylor, who ran the club, and he did everything. He was the drinks guy, the ticketer, the host, and even running this open mic. I brought 20 people to an open mic on a Sunday, and he made me go last so that all the people would stay, which I get. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll get my 7 minutes. Maybe I'll get a couple extra minutes for bringing this many people and having the audience be all here for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't complain. And I went a minute over. I'm not even, because I was so, just trying to be so dialed into not being over my time. I looked down at my phone, and it was about, a little over a minute over, and the audio gets pulled. And all of a sudden I realized the mic's not going. And I hear some of my friends start booing. And then I just go, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it a cappella. So I tossed the mic behind me and just started doing it like Robin Williams style, which is how he developed that no mic thing, because he was so theatrical.
Yeah.
And I started just doing it like it's a one-man show, and kept doing it. Did another 5 minutes. He's lighting me in the back. I just did my time, kind of blew him off, because I was like, dude, if you're going to fuck me like that, dude, I'm staying up. Which, looking back, I'm glad I did that. Definitely a ballsy move. I'm surprised he he didn't ban me from coming back, but I brought people, so I think he was like, I can't lose business from this kid. But he went up to me, he was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, dude, you pulled the mic on me, man. I brought all my friends. Like, you were 5 minutes over. I go, I was a minute over, man. I'll show you my phone.
Yeah, but I
like,
mean, he's still able to sell drinks and right.
oh yeah,
Oh
yeah. So it was, but that was definitely like an an early, like, not benchmark, but it was my first taste of like, whoa, this business is crazy. Like, it got my mic pulled on my second time ever, but I never remember ever really being terrified to be on stage. It was just always if a set didn't go well, I just was like, fuck, I wish I knew of more shows to get on stage the next night so I could do this again and right the wrong. But that didn't happen.
Okay. I mean, there's one thing to be funny with your buddies, right? Like, there's a lot of people who are funny around their buddies, but there's another thing to get up and with the stand-up, and obviously people you probably studied, or look up to or whatever, right? To get up there, and what is if you can sort of put this into words, what's the difference? I mean, I'm pretty funny around my friends. I can make them laugh. When I get up on stage, what are the keys, man? If you're going to tell a 19-year-old kid right now to say, look, you think you're funny, stand up, this is what you got to do.
Oh man, I would tell them there's no rule book for it. Everyone's path is different. You got to control what you can control, man. You got to get up as much as you can, right, all the time. Like I was saying earlier, like, commit to the hang. Don't be a dick. Study the greats like everybody does. Watch. Some people, I never agree with the mentality of like watching too much other stand-up to where you can get influenced. We're all talking about a lot of similar shit, dude. It's just linear thinking, man. If there's a lot of funny people, I've had bits I thought were so unique and original, and that people hit me up and be like, hey man, sorry, I started doing this bit, I saw you have one, or vice versa. I'll see that and I go, oh shit, all right, well, I'll chop that out, or they'll make a move. And
really,
so writing stuff that's personal to your own life and story is the best way to do it. And that only comes from having such a honed point of view to where you go, oh, I'm looking at the world through my goggles and nobody else's. So these types of thoughts hopefully are only conducive to the way I'm writing. But shit, man, you got to be all in too. That's the other thing I would say, because it's so easy to go, I'm not going to get up tonight. I got my my buddy's birthday party, right, or some family in town and they wouldn't understand, or a girl I finally have put in a lot of time with wants me to come over and watch Air Bud 6 or Love Actually or something that gets both of us ready to get slippery, and putting that stuff on the back burner and making the dream the first focus, I think, is the only way to even give yourself a chance to succeed. Because again, it's still a crapshoot. But if you don't at least, and this is how I view it with auditions. If I go into an audition and I walk out going like, all right, I know I prepped and I crushed it, and that was the best that I can give for that role. And if I don't get it, it's out of my control. But at least I can walk out knowing that I gave the best version. The worst feeling is walking out being like, dude, you didn't bring it. Like that was, and that, I not only do I know I'm not going to get it, but I didn't even represent myself the best. So go in and give the best shot. And if it doesn't happen, but also don't even be thinking about that. If you're thinking about a plan B, you're going to take away from the plan A, which sounds like some more Dr. Phil shit, but it's actually, who said that? Will Smith.
Yeah. Hey, I agree, man. And that's the one thing with, a lot of Latin kids play baseball, come over and play pro ball. And why are they successful? Because they don't have plan B. American kids, Australian kids have options, right? Like, it's a situation where like, oh no, if I don't make it in this, I can fall back on whatever because they got a bit of money, or they're doing something at school or whatever. I'm with you on that. And dude, the audition part, I don't know how the hell you do that. My wife, she was an actress for over 10 years, so she's been through that. Through the having to audition and go in and not have a clue. There's really no one saying, okay, stop. This is what I saw, giving you feedback. At least, in sport, you have a coach or you have something to tell you. It's like, you could be killing it. You just never get the part. It can friggin' absolutely mess with your head, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too, is remaining, like, sane and having a thick skin to take the rejection and get up and do it again, the way Chumbawamba says, And I think if you don't – by the way, that song, ahead of their time, little did they know if I was a motivational speaker, I would open and close with tub thumping.
The headset come out, like just everyone push-ups right now, and this song just pumping.
A tight V-neck. By the way, push-ups right out of the gate. But
yeah.
You know what though? That is a good way just to get the energy up, just to get.
Right,
we gotta get the blood flowing.
Yeah,
I want everybody rock hard doing push-ups, not even with your arms. I want hands free, just dick doing all the work. You're like, dude, is this guy allowed to be in this building? Yeah, I think if you don't have that, which only comes with doing it too, is like getting to deal with the nose. Dude, I don't know. When I think about the fact that I'm even doing it, it almost stresses me out and go to where I'm like, thank God I'm not at the start again, because knowing what it takes, you got to be delusional and just go full steam ahead and not think about the what ifs and what if I don't, and you know, I think that's, I don't know, it's way more fun, like you said though, man, than putting in for an office job. I mean, but some people love that. Some people find that world incredibly appealing, and they get a routine down and they can get it going. But dude, I don't know, man.
Yeah, man, I had that element of jealousy when my friends, they get out of school, they got, you know, locked in jobs. I'm still in the minor leagues, like toiling around, or I get DFA'd or something like that. I'm like, oh man, they've got their structure 9 to 5. They can, you know, they can plan for the future. They can plan for the next 6 months. Here I am sitting here trying to friggin' figure out my life. Yeah, but no, you're right, man. I would, no, I'm with you. But yeah, it's amazing, man. Like, again, just not having any kind of feedback, whether it's from auditions or a show. You get you get up, you get your 10, 15 minutes in, and it's funny. You said something. Looking back now, right? You have to be. I mean, you basically have to be single, not have any, you know, kids, right? Any obligation to financially be able to do it, because you head out to LA, and I mean, if you don't mind me asking too, you go to a school, you know, USC's not cheap, right? So all of a sudden, you're getting a degree from a school, expensive school. You get out of school, all of a sudden, here I am trying to make a career in something that has zero job security.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, look, I had some financial aid. I had the single mom pity party effect that got us some cash. My grandparents helped me with the semester. I think it was $38 a year when I was there.
Right.
And now I think it's maybe 60 or even maybe 70, which is fucking bonkers. And then I got some academic scholarship, and then my student loans, which I, you know, paid off maybe it's now probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. I paid them off, and yeah, man, it's just to start with and try to build something out of nothing is so, again, daunting. But if you don't think about it not happening and just kind of, for me, it was just staying active, and I worked at a casting office and doing open mics, and when YouTube hit, I started doing a lot of sketches and open mics and just trying to keep as busy as possible so that I didn't have an opportunity to have downtime to where I was, you know, partying too much. And again, like I was saying, like, you got to live a life worth writing about. So I would try to, when I find myself getting too locked into work mode, and a buddy would hassle me being like, dude, you're not going to get famous tonight. Come to my party. And I was like, all right. And I go and have a good time and, you know, start actually looking for those gatherings to kind of pull material from, because you realize, you know, that work. And, you know, I was a tour guide and played Wolverine at Universal Studios, and that gave me a lot of things to talk about. And that was like my day job in between all the other bullshit. And because the casting office was an internship, so I didn't get paid from that. It was just hours of free help and hoping that they would pluck me into some shows and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, having a girlfriend was almost near impossible. I did long distance twice, which probably helped. As much of a bummer as it was like great, because I could do all my stuff. And, you know, it got tricky when you're trying to run to a show and she's on the phone just like, I miss you. And you're like, I miss you too, but I literally, if I don't go now, like, and so eventually just had to put the kibosh on that, and then just live the single life.
So you reckon, so what, 3 years, it took you roughly 3 years to have that moment to say, hey, shit, this is actually happening. Was it a steady build-up, or was it a lot of just bullshit pushing a brick wall, and then boom, all of a sudden something broke, and you said, okay, this is actually happening. This was worth it.
I think, you know what, I think the first, I mean, because again, your benchmarks when you're starting out are like, yeah, getting on TV, getting a late night spot, getting into a festival. The Just for Laughs Montreal Comedy Festival is a big deal. I remember when MySpace was around, and MySpace comedy was a big deal. And Dane Cook, who now, you know, become a buddy, was the fucking king of MySpace comedy, and really used social media to his advantage, and and cultivated this insane following that he still has, and they would feature MySpace comedians, and MySpace, there was no Facebook, it was the thing, dude. I mean, it's how people were connected, and
I have an account, don't you worry.
Absolutely. Oh, dude, it got so many eyeballs, and I remember I got featured up there in the MySpace. They had one big comic. I think I have a picture of it still. It was me and Cat Williams and somebody else, and I believe Dane Cook was the main square, and then they had 4 little ones, and they put me in that little thing, dude, and it was. I remember just being like, I can't believe it, because it was a validating moment for me, because it was like, wow, these people I had no contact with, they saw my videos I've been doing or whatever, and they put me up in this thing for the whole world to see, and that was crazy. And then it also gave me a little bit of cachet back home, because people back home have no real understanding of what the business is. If you're there tied to it, they're just like, well, I don't see you on a billboard, and you're not starring in movies, so are you sure you're really doing it? And you're like, yeah, man, it's a grind. It takes a minute. And then that MySpace box was like, for a handful of people that were privy enough to know that carried a little bit of weight, were like, wow, dude, all right. Like, look at you.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then get guys to take me on the road with them. And then, getting, again, like a few TV spots, and then getting in the heat in 2013 was like, that was probably not I made it, but all right, I think I'm on, it was just not that I was going to quit at any time after that, but it was I graduated in 2005, so that was 8 years of just pounding the pavement, filling not a lot of sleep, and just really, and to get something, a big comedy like that, where I had a cool part with 2 of the biggest movie stars, and the premiere, and I just posted this picture from the premiere on my Instagram with my buddy from elementary school that lived in DC and came up, and the casting director and a few other people, and Ben Affleck came to the premiere party, and he was shit-faced. And it was the end of the night, and my buddy and the casting director and a few homies are sitting there, and she's like, man, Ben Affleck's still here. And he's drunk. He's talking to those 2 girls, and she's like, I want a picture with him, but I want to ask. I was like, well, I was in the movie, and I already talked to him and asked him to take a picture with my mom. I was like, let's go over there. So we go over there, and he's hammered, and there was the thing set up that had like the heat, like a big poster, and then you could take a picture in front of it, and we all took one. And if you go on my Instagram, Adam Ray Comedy, I just posted yesterday, we're all standing there smiling and really excited, and Affleck's just like this.
Yeah, just killing the photo, dude.
Oh, just buzzkill Ben.
Look like we're buddies, right? Like, look like we've just had 3 beers together, and we're bro.
I know. It was. I mean, it's better for the picture that he was not into it, because whatever. But yeah, dude, it's those types of things that at least give you an extra. It's almost like in Mario Brothers, getting a little one up, and then you're like, all right, I can take on King Koopa. I gotta, all my fireballs in my pouch. But
so you would have had. I mean, I don't know your family seems like they're pretty supportive, right?
Yeah.
Single mom, and she's like, hey, that was my mom too, man. She was like, hey, just keep going. Because I had 6.5 years in the minor leagues, and I go back to Australia, and you're a world away. Everyone's like, hey, when are you done doing your little baseball tour over there and playing, Division 4 rugby on the weekend in the beer league? Like, I'm like, no, God, I'm trying to make this a friggin' career. People just don't, because I had a lot of people saying to me like, hey, man, look, I think it's time now to maybe start thinking about school or getting a degree, or hey, why don't you do this course in the off season? Do you have plenty of that back home or no?
Yep. Yeah. I think my mom was such a champion of what I was doing that she, again, playing both parts. Dad was even still very supportive, stepdad, stepmom. But also, again, when people don't have their own ties to what you're doing, it's tough for them to really, even though I know people that grew up with that, to have, parents that are like, you're not that fucking funny, or like, you're really going to do that? Like, it's tough. Like, I mean, my grandpa did that to my mom. It's why she lived vicariously through me and started doing plays and acting workshops when she married my stepdad. And he was like, stop working 4 jobs, do the vagina monologues 15 times. And which she did. Right. And she did it like 6 times and then quit. And then they called her and asked her to do another production. I was like, Mom, you're like the Brett Favre of vagina monologues. And so if you haven't heard your mom, by the way, deliver a vagina monologue, you haven't truly lived, because it is scarring and hilarious all at the same time.
I'm writing this down. Actually, hold on, just give me a second. Let me make sure this happens.
Yeah. But again, so she had, unfortunately, my grandpa was a little too practical and was like, "Are you gonna be able to support yourself doing this?" And she didn't really have an answer to that other than, "Well, I don't know." So he's like, "All right, well," didn't tell her not to, but was like, maybe go do the social work, path because it's tough. And that's just also that generation, man, that was, I don't think as filled with dreams and overly ambitious thoughts of like anything's possible, right?
Right.
But I had that, so it was cool.
Yeah, and you think too now, like, is this the best time in history to do stand up? Do you think? I mean, I've heard this a few times because obviously Netflix is just taken off, especially this coronavirus. I feel like Netflix stocks through the roof. They're loving the fact everyone's at home. But Netflix is really showcasing stand-up. Whether you're a fan of stand-up or not, it's in your face all the time. And you also have all these other outlets, ways to, like you go to your website and you've got all these little things that can make you laugh on that website. You think this is the best time in history to be a stand-up?
I think it's a pretty sweet time to be a comedian, man. There's a lot of, things to talk about. And I think people want stand-up right now more than ever because it is an escape for a lot of people. A lot of people do, whether they know it or are aware of it or not, look to comics for commentary on what's happening. And we've been so lucky to have so many incredible minds and voices to do that over the last, I'd say, 20, 30 years. And whether it's the best time right now, I can only speak to knowing like my time. And I think, late 90s seemed pretty cool, but it's from what I know from been doing it almost 15 years and how the Comedy Store was when I started and how it is now. Yeah, dude, like this is the time. I mean, it's truly become and the accessibility of being able to see and watch people and getting this behind the curtain element to people online. There's a lot of other ways for comics to get their content out there and to be seen and be heard, and podcasting is huge for that.
Yeah.
So I think it is probably the best time. And I'd be shocked if it doesn't come back stronger than it was before, because people are going to be very thirsty for entertainment, and stand up again is going to provide such an immediate perspective about what we've gone through and what we're going through. But also I've talked to some comics who are like genuinely terrified that it's not going to come back for a minute, or it's going to be different. Only certain acts are going to really get booked because of like the draw that they have and the money that they'll bring in. So
is this that group of comics that are sort of relying on clubs being open, opportunities in that regard? You mean, or these are bigger comedians?
The bigger ones, I don't think are concerned. Like Joe Rogan's not concerned, but also who knows with the social distancing and what the guidelines will be for gatherings.
Yeah.
If 5,000 people isn't allowed, then he'll do comedy clubs, which then will bump people like me down.
Right. Gotcha.
So yeah, that sucks, because then he'll pack out he'll do 5 shows at a comedy club over a weekend, make a shit ton of money, and sell it out. And if they're only allowing this many people in a room at a time, that's the only option he'll have. So yeah, I mean that's something to think about. But
yeah, now the flip side of that question and asking, is this the best time to do stand up? Is it at the same time? This is the generation of being offended. Everyone gets offended so easily. And I find it funny, you watch Bill Burr's, specials. He talks about, like, look, I'm a comedian. These are jokes, right?
Yeah.
I might say some stuff and you may get offended, but the fact of the matter is, they're jokes. Like, don't take them literally in a sense. So,
dude, do
you ever worry about? Do you even think about that in your shows? About, I can't offend people now, or this is going to be taken the wrong way?
I mean, dude, I'll read you something I got from a text from the gal who I did the Zoom show. I haven't read it yet, but I pulled it up and I skimmed it and seen this. You were great. The tech was really rough. Not our fault, obviously. Okay. For the 22nd, they need everyone on a headset. They said that would help with the echo. They loved you. Notes they gave me. Don't mention Zoom at all, since that is their competitor. Okay. I guess I must have done that. It was 8x8 was the name of the company that was doing it. The eating out the Barbie joke was a little too racy for them.
Hold on a sec. Just so, is this someone who does she work
for the gig? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
she must work for them. Yeah.
Okay.
They love the stuff talking to the guys. Also mentioned that a lot of the audience know each other. FYI. Yeah. So again, I was doing crowd work and really ripping some people apart and crushing with that. For the payment, all right, and some other stuff, blah blah blah, and a voicemail. So yeah, right there, I read that and I go, all right, I'll make an adjustment. I don't have to do that joke. Got tons of other stuff.
Was this a private gig, or could I have paid money and signed up for it?
No, people are doing things like that, but this is a private gig that
gotcha.
that was organized by them who does the 8x8. But with something like that, I go, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make that much of a if it's like one joke like that. If she had a whole list of notes, I'd be a little more hesitant to really make an adjustment. But yeah, like you said, you're like, it's just a joke. But it is all subjective. And when you're getting paid, you don't have to change what you're doing. But, if it's an easy move for me to be like, all right, maybe I won't. Let me look at else. But also, to be quite honest, dude, it must have been the way I delivered that versus something else, because I've got edgier stuff that I did that they didn't even mention. So it's also, people sometimes just enjoy looking for something to go, hey, can we, weirdly, people do enjoy, saying to a comic, like, can you not, like, I know I don't do comedy, but I do know what funny is. So, but yeah, dude, it's I'll obviously make the necessary adjustments, but also I've done this enough to know I'm not offended by her critique. It's like, cool, don't do what again. But had I been 2 years in and not as savvy enough to know, hey man, like, make a small adjustment, and also, do you have more material that you can replace with what you did that they didn't like? But I don't know, man. Bill Burr, there's a handful of guys that truly can say whatever they want, and this is why the Louis special, I think, will probably get a lot of positive attention, because funny trumps everything, man. If it's funny, like, look, I know he was making jokes after a Florida school shooting, and a lot of people were coming down on him. I remember hearing one of the jokes being like, that is fucked up. Funny joke if I'm looking at it from a joke thing. For me personally, I was like, yeah, I'm very sensitive to that stuff, so my brain doesn't work in the space of trying to find the funny there.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it from a strictly joke perspective, man, like, very funny. So there's guys like that, and that's why Chappelle is just the best, because he's so damn smart and he's so thoughtful, and he doesn't waste words. And that's
you talked about, some of these guys are on a level where they can just say whatever they want. Right?
Yeah.
Do you think they were like that when they were still trying to make it? Do you think they changed their art form or the delivery to please people? But that's not the right way to go, right? You're never gonna get to where you want to be, right? If you do that way.
Yeah, I think the more comfy you get, the more you start, and that's when you start to probably find success, is when you start to go, oh, this is who I am. It takes a minute to find who you are on stage, and once you lock in on that, then you go, oh, now I have opinions. I know what I think when I read something. I know what I feel when I think something. I know what I want to say when I see something. And that just takes reps, and time is your best friend. So you get to a point to where you can do that without thinking about it, and be able to speak from a place that's so genuine that you can riff on a subject and be funny about it. And that's what the two greats do. I mean, I've watched Chappelle late night at the Comedy Store for 2-3 hours at a time, do jokes, but also just talk out material. And sometimes it's like this, and sometimes it's like that, and it's like that. But it's sometimes I've seen it where it's just like, dude, crush city. Right. So that's the ultimate goal, and that's why there's never a finish point. You're always getting better and evolving, and there's never a point where you go, cool, I mastered stand-up.
Yeah. Well, look, Adam, this has been a blast, man. I hope I didn't keep you from going to the lake today.
That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, really next time, again, I'm going to make this very clear to Rick Riz. Say, look, man, next time Adam's in the booth, he's talking about Sandra Bullock, right, motorboating, and he's got stories for days, all right? The news
stories,
anchor.
Dude,
what's the news anchor doing now? The one who hooked up with the cameraman.
Dude, I got to be honest. It's one of the things I take pride in. I do not look up exes and stalk on Facebook. And by the way, that's also not true. She's got a kid and she's remarried. But she's and she works for NBC in San Francisco. And you know what? I wish her the best. even though I invited her to my shows the last 6 times I've been in San Fran, dude, bury the hatchet, bring your husband. I even said, I was like, fucking come out, I'll hook you up. No response.
No
One time
way.
she did get
No
back.
way.
One time she did get back, and like a week later, and she was like, I just saw this. And it's also like, message received. She ain't trying to include me in her life. You know, I wouldn't either. Dude, if that husband like looked me up and was like, who's this guy like? And then he's like, oh, he thinks he's funny. Oh, we're gonna go see his show. So I get it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
but I got a lot of clean stories for the booth. Look, dude, I wanted to be a color commentator. I told Riz this when I was a kid. I used to mute the Mariners games and pretend that I was in the booth with him and Dave Niehaus, and I would commentate by my. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster up until probably from 6 until 11.
Really?
And then,
Okay.
oh yeah, dude. So I'd mute the games and commentate. My mom was like, "This kid's losing his fucking mind, and he's double fisting Pop-Tarts. I don't think he's gonna make it out of the 8th grade." And Albertsons, the grocery store, actually had a contest where you could win to get into the booth for a half an inning. And my buddy did, and he was so bad and so not personable. And I was like, "You wasted it." I was like, "Why didn't you give it to me?" So I told Riz that. I was like, "Dude, you gotta." I entered the contest and didn't win. Now you can make the dream come true.
What happened when you turned 11? What happened? Just said, screw it, I'm done.
Oh, dude, I don't know, dude. I don't
So
know.
Tony Hawk skateboarding or something. You and I are the same age, so I'm trying to think of the same sort of.
No, you know
I'm
what?
trapped in the 90s, dude. Like, I mean, I've even got. I mean, I wore this shit. I'm like, oh man,
You're
because
killing
I knew what I knew. Well, by the way, they were coming to Seattle. They're back touring. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh
I know,
God.
it's amazing. I know,
It's
I
like,
want to go.
But I'm just trapped. I looked. I was like, okay, let's figure out how old he is to make sure. Because Randy, for example, Randy Couture is a lot older than me. So I'm talking about, were you a Mariners fan? Because he grew up in Seattle. It's like,
Oh,
were the
cool.
Mariners even around when he was a kid?
Yeah. He's
But,
like,
yeah, it was-
Goose Gossage? Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
exactly.
mean, I hit 11, and I think a buddy of mine was such a nerd with stats. And I was good with players, and I had a really colorful, going off of Riz and Niehaus, and even I know Kevin Kremen was the producer, but for years. But there was another guy. Oh, he did the Braves commentating for a while. You know who I'm talking about, dude.
I know exactly. Yeah.
Dude.
Oh man.
Ken Levine, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Ken Levine. And these guys were just brilliant with their words, and I really dug that. But the stats, I was like, dude, I'm never gonna be dialed in with these stats. Little did I know, you get that shit handed to you more or less if you need it. But you gotta, come on, man. The best know when a guy comes up, they can rattle off, Rain Man style, what he ate for breakfast while he turned a double play, So
yeah, the stats
then
is
I think
ridiculous though, man. I can't. I'll be honest with you. Like the stats they're throwing out now, I'm not keeping up with it at all. I'm just like, I'm just going to try and go old school. Yeah, it's absurd. Yeah. So anyway, but man, it's been fun, man.
It's been awesome, dude. I can't wait to kick it live in the flesh next time we're both in Seattle.
Let's do it.
And good luck to you, dude.
Awesome.
And there's one more thing I wanted to say.
Take the piss. What do you got?
What did I want to say? Dude, there's one. I had a whole solid, strong outro, and now it's just gonna end on a weird note.
Dude.
What is the beer in Australia?
Don't say Foster's. Come on.
Not Foster's. No, there was a beer that they always kept serving us. Not a Hooters. What was it called? A Loggers? A Joggers?
Oh, a Crown Lager?
No, there's a name, like a Boogers or something. It's like a
James Bogues.
A Bogies? No. What is no?
Well, okay. You got James Bogues is an Australian beer, but the two big ones like the Bud Light and the Bud Light and Coors Light of Australia.
A Boomer? Was it like a Boomer? What is it? There's a. Oh, dude. I'm sorry, dude.
Google it. Yeah.
Apologizing to your viewers. Australian beer.
A schooner.
Schooner.
Yeah,
right?
schooner. Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, a schooner's the size. Like, oh, can I get a schooner? Can I get a schooner, mate? And it's like the schooner
that
size.
was it.
No, a midi.
Victoria Bitter. A Tuies? No.
Tuies? Yeah.
Coopers.
A Cooper's.
Yeah,
okay.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, there you go. Cooper's. That's a big one.
We tried to do Adam Devine and I. We were there on tour. We were drinking it. We were like, give me a Cooper's, and we tried to do. You get just drunk enough. Every asshole American tries to do the accent to see if they can fit in. And the girl called us out, and she's like, "There's no way you guys are from here." And we were like, Charlie for me. Give us the Kempes.
Oh,
But we
mate.
were just drunk enough.
Mate, you get headbutted in 2 seconds doing that. Let me tell you. Hey, when you get back in Seattle, dude, Kangaroo and Kiwi. It's an Aussie pub. Big shout out.
No
Brad
way.
Young. Oh, it's awesome. It's also a Cougars, Washington State Cougars football.
Oh, very
all of a sudden.
cool.
But no, it's full on all the Aussie shit all over the walls. And they've got Coopers. They've got, dude, yeah, for sure. I love it. For sure. It's a lot of fun. We'll do it.
We'll root for the Cougars and pound some Coopers.
There you go. Let's do it.
Take it. All right, Ryan. You're the man, dude.
Yeah.
Be
Cheers,
safe.
man. Thanks. See you later.
See you.